An engine gives you a heads up. It ticks, it smokes, it starts drinking oil between changes. You get months to sort it out. A transmission gives you one bad shift. 5 trucks built with enough margin that it usually doesn't come to that, and what to check on each one to find out if the last guy already used that margin up. Because here's what nobody behind a parts counter tells you. Transmissions don't die of old age. They die of heat. Cook that fluid one time too many, and the clutches start slipping. Slipping makes more heat, and that loop does not run backward. Nothing you do afterward puts it back. Which is why the odometer lies on these. A truck that got hot 10 times at 80,000 is further gone than one that never got leaned on at 250. So here's the 5. An 01-up Duramax 2500, a GM Gas 3/4 ton, a Cummins Ram with a stick in it, a first-gen Tundra, and an 11-up Super Duty. 5 trucks, and a different thing to check on every one, but every one of them you can do standing in a parking lot. Start with the Duramax trucks, 2001 and up, 2500 HD, 3500. And you already know the line, because every guy selling one leads with it. It's got the Allison. Like that settles it. 2 words and he figures the conversation's over. And mostly he's right. Allison didn't come out of a car company. They build boxes for buses and dump trucks, stuff that idles all day and pulls all afternoon. GM's own 4-speeds couldn't live behind the Duramax, so it went and bought the commercial unit instead. That's the whole reason it's on this list. You're getting something engineered for work a pickup will never see. So what kills them? Not miles. 2 things, and neither one is the transmission's fault. Somebody turned it up. A tune, a chip, a delete, anything that adds torque the Allison wasn't spec'd for. The clutch packs are the first thing to go, and one of them, the C3, only gets oil when it's actually being applied. Rest of the time it's sitting there dry, taking whatever you just added. Or somebody cooked it, towed heavy, hot, over and over, and never watched the temp. Either way, you're not buying a transmission with life left, you're buying somebody else's overdraft. 2 questions and 1 look. Ask whether it's been tuned, chipped, or deleted, and don't take a shrug. Then pull the stick. Dark isn't old. Dark is cooked. Comes up brown and smells like a campfire, that margin's already spent, and the number on the dash doesn't change it. Because here's the fine print on that reputation. Left stock and kept cool, an Allison will usually outlive the motor bolted to it. Most of these trucks weren't left stock, and the guy selling it is never the one who brings that up. Now the gas trucks. GM 3/4 tons, roughly 01 through the end of the 2000s, Silverado and Sierra 2500, the ones with the 6.0 or the 8.1 under the hood. And this is where 2 GM pickups that look identical on the same lot end up with completely different futures. Because underneath one of them is a 4L80E, underneath the other is a 4L60E, the light-duty box that gave the whole family its bad name. And you don't need a scan tool to find out which. Get under the truck and count the bolts on the transmission pan. 16 bolts, it's a 60. 17, it's an 80. That's it, that's the check. A flashlight and 30 seconds on your back. Those aren't 2 sizes of the same thing. The 80 came off the Turbo 400, 60's heavy-duty iron that spent 30 years behind big blocks. The 60 came off a light-duty overdrive built for cars. The 80's good for around 440 pound-feet stock. The 60, about 360. And the 80 is bigger, heavier, and sheds heat better when you lean on it. GM even told you, right in the name, that number is the weight rating it was built for. 60 means 6,000 pounds. 80 means 8,000. So if you find a 3/4 ton that spent 10 years towing on 16 bolts, that's not a truck that was built wrong. That's a truck that's been doing an 80s job on a 60s parts, and you'd be buying it at the end of that story instead of the start. And what the 80 costs you is gears, 4 speeds on 60s architecture, and it drives like it. No smooth cruise, no mileage worth bragging about. You're buying meat, not manners. Third one's a Cummins Ram, but only the ones with 3 pedals. Because everything we just talked about, the heat, the cooked fluid, the clutch packs, all of that lives in the torque converter. That's where an automatic makes its heat, on purpose, every time you pull a grade. A stick doesn't have one. No converter, no valve body, nothing soaking in hot fluid. There's just nothing in there for heat to ruin. That's why they're on this list. Not because they're built better than an Allison, because the part that fails isn't in the truck. which moves your whole inspection somewhere else. The transmission itself isn't the money. The clutch is. So on the drive, get it in a tall gear at low speed and mash it. Engine climbs, truck doesn't go with it. That clutch is slipping, and you're buying a clutch job whether you knew it or not. On a diesel that's real money, and it's a transmission out job. One more, and it's specific to the NV4500. Fifth gear on those is a known weak spot. The nut that holds it can work loose, and the tell is a truck that pops out of fifth when you lift off the throttle. So take it to highway speed, get it in fifth, and back off the gas. If it jumps out of gear, you've found it, and it's not a small repair. Then figure out who's been driving it. A stick behind a diesel means somebody had an opinion, either a guy who picked it on purpose and treated it right, or somebody who rode that pedal for 8 years. The transmission will usually be fine either way. The clutch tells you which one you got. And the trade is real. Sticks are harder to sell, the buyer pool's thin, and in daily traffic you'll get sick of it. Fourth one's a first-gen Tundra. 2000 to 06 4.7 V8. The Sequoia's the same truck under the sheet metal. And this one has the simplest trap on the whole list, so I'll give it to you first. Toyota called that transmission fluid long life. A whole lot of owners heard never, which matters more on this truck than it sounds, because the transmission itself was never the weak point. That 4.7 is a modest motor. Never made big torque, never pretended to. And the box behind it came out of the same family Toyota put in the Land Cruiser, built with margin for markets where the nearest dealer is a long way off. So you've got a conservative transmission bolted to an engine that doesn't lean on it. These should all be fine. The ones that aren't got there because nobody ever changed the fluid, and then somebody towed with it. So ask one question: when was it last serviced? And if the answer is, it doesn't need it, that's not a non-answer. That's an answer. Pair it with the same look at the fluid you already know how to do, and you'll know where that truck stands. It's a 5-speed, and the torque capacity's nowhere near the heavy-duty stuff on this list. Half-ton drivetrain, half-ton work. Hook a big trailer to it every weekend and you're spending the exact margin that made it famous. Last one's a Super Duty 2011 on up. Newest truck on this list by a decade, and behind both the 6.7 and the gas motors you'll find the 6R140. Ford drew it from scratch, and the piece that matters to you is the torque converter. It locks up at low RPM and stays locked. Locked isn't slipping, and what isn't slipping isn't making heat. But there's a date on these, and it decides the whole conversation. Ford put out a service bulletin covering transmission fault codes on units built before the middle of December 2015, the fix being a new coast clutch cylinder and one-way clutch assembly. So on any 2011 through 2015 Super Duty, this is the sequence. Read the build date off the door jamb sticker, not the model year, the build date. If it's before December of 15, that truck is in the affected window. Then ask for the service records and look for that repair specifically. If it's there, good, that job's done and it's behind you. If there's no paperwork, assume it wasn't done and price the truck like a repair is coming because you're the one who'll be paying for it. 16 and newer, you skip all of this. Same 2 questions as the Duramax too. Has it been turned up and has it worked? The weak spots on these are the converter's lock-up clutch and an output shaft that lets go on trucks somebody tuned hard. Heat and horsepower that didn't come from the factory. Same 2 culprits, 5 trucks later. What you're giving up here is simplicity. It's electronically controlled, it's enormous, and when it does need work, it is not a cheap afternoon. You're buying durable, that's not the same thing as simple. So, 5 trucks and 2 different inspections, not 1. 2. Anybody telling you the same check works on all of them has never owned a stick. If it's an automatic, the Duramax, the GM gas truck, the Tundra, the Super Duty, pull the stick, look at the color, smell it. Then ask whether it's been turned up and whether it's towed. On the Super Duty, add the build date. On the GM gas truck, count the pan bolts before you do any of it. If it's the Cummins with 3 pedals, forget the dipstick. That's not where your money is. Slip test the clutch in a tall gear, take it to 5th at highway speed and lift off, and ask who's been driving it. That's the whole thing. A flashlight, a test drive, and 2 straight questions, and you'll know more about that truck than the odometer will ever tell you. So here's what I want from you. If you're running one of these 5, put the mileage in the comments and say whether it's ever been a part. Not whether you like it, the number, and the honest answer. That's the only thing that settles this. and there's more of you down there than in any study I could go read. Take care of your trucks.